Hello and welcome in to Looking Up with Laird here on Sorare TV. I am Andrew Laird. You can find me as Lairdinho on Sorare, joined as always by Sam Tighe and Harry Trades. Today to add four more names to I was going to call it the critically acclaimed, but really it's just the popular Looking Up with Laird watch list on Sorare Data, but the number one followed watch list. We have no actual I was going to say plan. Plan was not the right word I was going to use. We don't have a theme this week. It almost turned into gray hooded sweatshirt, but like most weeks, Sam could not follow the rules and disregarded the hood. But we move on anyway. Speaking of Sam, though, Sam, you told me one of your picks, and I'm going to force you to start with him because it's one of the few players that we've ever added to the list that I've seen live in person, because obviously I don't see many European matches in stadium, and this player, who does not play for the team where I saw him play for, is someone I've seen in person. And I'll let you discuss. You can include what I said about him, but I'll just say I was shocked to find out he's going on this list today. Why don't you kick us off here?
I'm not happy about it either. Genuinely, I'm not happy about it. But it's Wesley Hoot. I think it's Hoot.
I always said Hoot, but I'm never the expert.
Wesley Hoot. I've never liked him as a player, but it's undeniable that in his Sorare scoring history, he's put up some big numbers. Now he has to be in the right position to do so. But if you click all on it, really, I mean, that's some good recent stuff. But all time, like he's had his periods where he's really smashed it.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, this is largely when he's playing for a top Belgian side, so we know how centre backs in those scenarios can really hit the matrix. But Wesley Hoot joined Watford in January, and it's less about that and more about the fact that Watford are now, I think, emerging into a good situation. I've spoken about this a few times before. It's about buying into certain situations rather than necessarily players. It's actually a few from Watford that we can talk about. I'll pin it on Wes, who probably takes the most interesting position in this Watford team now. So in true Watford style, they are on their third manager of the season. This one, they hope will stick. It never really does. But it's Chris Wilder. And Chris Wilder is a very good manager at this level. He's had, well, the Middlesbrough job didn't really work out, but the three jobs before, Oxford, he was fantastic. Northampton, he won a title. And Sheffield United, he took from League One to the Premier League, and they survived. Like, he's very, very good. And this is a situation I'm willing to buy into because I'm very optimistic about Chris Wilder's Watford, and I'm trying to look at players that I think could prosper. Now, the thing about Wilder is he employs some of the most unique tactics in football, in that he, for Sheffield United, famously coached overlapping centre-backs, which means back three, and then the outside centre-backs somehow managed to overlap the wing-backs in order to get into the final third and into crossing positions, which was just downright bizarre. But it was really, really effective. And there were players in that system like Jack O'Connell who elevated 2 or 3 times, I think, ahead of their actual level and became very, very good. Now, he's already put this in place at Watford. They beat Birmingham City midweek 3-0, and Hoot put in a good performance. So did a few others. He's already starting to put this into place. And Hoot is, for all his flaws, and I don't think he's a very good defender, he's a very good passer. That's like the one thing we can definitely say about Wesley Hoot that's positive. Like, he is a good passer of the ball. I don't know about the rest, but in a ball-playing centre-back position, in a position where he might get into crossing scenarios, I actually think it's quite good. So let's see what happens. But we know he can score well when he's in a good position. I like the situation Watford find themselves in right now. There are only 9 games to go before the playoffs. They're 6 points off the playoffs. Again, let's see if they can get in those playoffs and then, lose or something like that and stay down there. That would be ideal. But
please don't go.
This is an intriguing one. I think you can pick out 4 or 5 Watford players that things are looking up for, but I decided to pick Hoot because he's a bit of a Sorare classic.
So I saw Hoot at Anderlecht play a Conference League match against West Ham. And let me see, because what I told Sam is that he had bricks for feet. And he didn't start that West Ham match. He did come on 11 minutes and had a negative AA in the 2-1 West Ham. Or no, I'm sorry. That was at West Ham. Where's the... Here it is. Oh, he did have a decent game, apparently. This is where I start to think that the scoring matrix can't possibly be right. Because but apparently he had quite a game. In fact, I remember watching this game, and DeBass was amazing. And then we looked at their scores, and we were like, I wonder if they just switched them. Because there was nothing about Wesley Hoot that I was watching, and I was like, this guy is a player. But it's not always just about the player, very much about situations. And yeah, if Watford, I mean, everybody's going to score well in a 3-0 victory. But while we're here, what are the other names that are looking up for you?
Yeah, so basically it's Imran Loser for sure, because he's back from injury himself. He very nearly made it onto a Looking Up episode once. Harry was going to pick him very early doors, episode 1 or 2 or 3, whatever it was. And just before Harry went live with it, I sent him a news article saying that Imran Loser was out for 3 months.
Yeah.
So we canned that one, but he's back and he's on set pieces and he's very, very talented. He's not actually that expensive, but his under 23 runs out very shortly. So I don't think Harry wants anything to do with him anymore.
Wants no part.
There's a couple more, and the sort of really like on brand one for us here is Keenan Davis, the striker, whose scoring for the last 4 months has been absolutely atrocious, like awful. His L15 is so bad, it's brilliant, and he's just scored in midweek. And this is a player who has a reputation for being very good at most things up front except for scoring. He just can't do it. Like, his composure and his shooting technique is so poor, but his hold-up play and his strength, and actually his ball carrying when he turns, really, really good. He's a good player. What if he's like not that bad anymore? What if he's all right? And look at that L15. Like, it's just like you've probably got 6 or 7 games out of him before he looks even remotely difficult to play. So take a look at the Watchlist situation.
Yellowest L15s or score charts, and these are just starts. Like, these are not sub appearances; these are all starts.
Oh, it's really bad.
Just a ring or a line of yellows. But
I'm delighted to inform you that I've had one this entire time.
Wow.
Yeah, he's not great. Well, no, he's a good footballer, but he can't score, and he doesn't score well on the matrix. Funnily enough, by the way, the 3-0 win over Birmingham, good one for him because he's on loan from Aston Villa. And he scored and shushed the away end. I thought it was quite funny. Yeah, so.
Always like that.
Need to raise the stakes for him and he scores.
So Hoot's price, I mean, it's about as low as it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
For limiteds, I'm assuming the rares are the same.
Mm-hmm.
Such optimism in the summer. I mean, I guess starting center back for Anderlecht is going to get plenty of attention anyway. But
yeah,
you said he was on loan, or did he move? Oh no, moved.
No, he's there. He's just there.
He's just there.
I'm just interested here. Like, what do you guys think about this? Look, he's playing outside centre back, and in my experience, the outside centre backs tend to be more busy on the scoring matrix. That if you get stuffed into the middle, you actually don't see a lot of action. This was my frustration with Alan Franco at Atlanta United last year for a spell where they put him in the middle. He just did nothing good, but nothing bad. He's on the outside. They're giving him the license to pass. If he starts doing the overlap thing, he might be crossing the ball into the box, which would be a penalty area entry, I guess, if he puts the ball in. Like, if you're stuck, if you get high up the pitch, like, are you in a position to be intercepting more balls and be more active? Probably. So I don't think there are many examples of like the scoring matrix ever really handling Chris Wilder's overlapping centre backs. I'm not sure it's ever actually come into contact with him. I'm fascinated to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of if we would have. I'm assuming we have the stats. What
Sheffield's team.
Who was the Sheffield United one you said?
Basham.
It would be Sheffield United from 2 years ago in the Premier League. I literally have no idea if this is a net positive or a net negative. Basham, is he the one?
I don't know if he's the one, but he was one of them, wasn't he?
Did he play in the middle?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I think he might have played on the right, so I think it's okay. But
oh wait, this is
if you go all the way back to the Premier League stuff,
Go down to the hundreds.
Yeah.
No, I think they were. I don't know. Actually, that might have been champ. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right there.
Can't remember. He's 1-0 down, unfortunately.
I
But
don't
there
think
was
they
some
had
in
many
the
good
in the
ones.
scoring matrix up there. He did have some high notes. I just don't know how far back they were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, either way, I think it's a reasonable thing. I will say, and it's funny to me because we give Harry so much. I don't know if I should say flack or credit, but either way, the guy dominates midweeks, and I feel like there isn't a lot of like midweek, not the like lack of midweek content, but like with the number of games that the championship has, like everyone's like, oh yeah, well, when we talked about like, sorry, Harry, Muric and Harwood Bellis and Bayer, like we were like, well, U23s, but like they have midweeks, and it's not like Champions League midweeks where all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have a player, and you're like, oh, they're against Bayern this week, and that's not as fun. So I do wonder if, I mean, I definitely saw somebody had a Watford stack. Was it Nep? It might have been Nep had a limited Watford stack, and I mean, you look at these scores, and it kind of makes sense.
Well, the thing to have had over the last 4 months, it's something we talked about when we mentioned Callum O'Hare, was that Coventry City were like 5 games behind, and they've played like every midweek.
That wasn't this.
And
right,
Coventry have just played and played and played. Every time I look at Sorare data, they've got a fixture like in every single game week. And I have seen in the rankings for the second division stuff, some people have Coventry stacks. And you know what? They've been treated really well. If you've got Victor Gyökeres and you've got Ben Hamer, I think it is, or is it Gustavo Hamer, one of the Hamers, you've scored really well. You've done brilliantly.
Mm-hmm. And defensively as well. Ben Wilson in goals. I think he's kept like 17 clean sheets or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been insane, to be fair. He used to be at Cardiff, that's why I know of him. But yeah, he's been insane. Really, really good.
Yeah, that's wild. And they're like 70 and 80 point clean sheets, not just like straight 60s.
Yeah.
We've covered about 15 players there.
Here's the episode done, lads.
And somehow Wesley Hoot's the one who makes the list. I will say that I will give anyone who is interested in João Pedro from Watford any interest. I won one, and then he got injured, and I sold it. And so he's back. I mean, he's been back for a little bit. But you have that Laird sale seal of approval that surely he'll be a 3 ETH limited card in no time. Anyway. So we kind of half mentioned midweeks, mentioned U23s a little bit. Mr. Trades, on to you.
I wish I was following in Sam's footsteps with the old midweek niche, but I'm not, unfortunately, Laird. I'm going down your rabbit hole of MLS under 23 midfielders. Both picks are actually quite similar for me this week. Following on from that Paxton Pomykal shout a couple of weeks ago, which have been, well, proved pretty good, I'd say. So far, is that 3 games in or 2 games in?
3.
Yeah, 3 nice green scores, I'm sure. And I'm hoping this guy can sort of follow in his footsteps, and that's James Sands of New York City. Just come back from Rangers. So he spent, a good period of time in sort of Scotland. And I mean, there was bits of success there, in terms of scoring. There was a lot of DMPs, a lot of substitute appearances. There was no consistency in his sort of scores, and obviously his price would have reflected that. And he wasn't really usable. There was spells where he was usable. There's like a little stretch here where, like this 7 or 8 sort of 90-minute games. He's playing centre back. He's playing CDM, bit of a utility, or used as a bit of a utility player.
Harry,
but go on.
He was rubbish.
Sam, what do you want me to do? I'm just looking at scores on Sorare. I mean,
you are being very nice.
He couldn't have been that bad to be playing in a Rangers team.
He was bad.
I think the problem was that he was playing out of position.
It don't help. If you're a CDM and you're playing centre back, now there's not many players that really do that in professional football. Really, even though you think it's quite transferable, it's just not. Is it? If we're being honest, not many players can do it successfully. But at the end of the day, we look at numbers on screens. Well, most people do. A lot of people don't watch games of football. to determine, Sorare scores. But yeah, like it wasn't a successful sort of period for him really for the most part. But he's back home and put up an 81, 46 AA on the weekend in his first 90 minutes against Inter Miami, a 1-0 win. I think we mentioned it before, but that sort of midfield three, I'm quite excited to see sort of get going. That James Sands, Parks, and Santiago Rodriguez sort of diamond in there. I really think that could be like one of the best sort of most balanced midfielders, I would say, in the MLS. I don't know who's always going to, it's going to be tough to figure out who's going to be the best scorer. Sands doesn't really take set pieces. He's not really that type of player. He's more defensive minded, but it just seems like, going back to the Pomical shout, like these sort of, these under 23 American center midfielders, they seem to just be very busy. They seem to be getting 5 tackles and 4 interceptions and doubles and triple, whatever it is. They just seem to score well on the matrix. I think it's clearly down to the MLS style of football. There's just a lot of turnovers. There's a lot of recoveries in midfield. Players just don't keep the ball as well. And, if you're a player like James Sands who can just mop up and sort of, take advantage of those sort of, missed passes and whatever, you can score well on the scoring matrix. And, like Sam said, he's not a great player, but he's going to be a semi-decent player in the MLS. We've seen him score well previously. He's gone to Europe. He's come back. And I don't know. I just think, there's a player in there. If you don't want to spend massive bucks on your Rui Puigs and, your Almadas and stuff, on the odd game, here and there. I'm not saying he's going to post 80s every week, but we've seen him do it. There's no reason why he can't do it now and again over the next sort of year. And that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for a guaranteed sort of 80 to 100 player. Nobody's guaranteed, but like you're not paying for Almada, right? You're paying for James Sands.
I like how during that you were like, he's gone to Europe and he's come back. And if that was some sort of positive, that he was like.
But it is though, in the sense of like
awful. Now he's back.
In so rare terms, it's a positive.
It is. True. But even for him, like it's a higher standard of football in Europe. We obviously know that I know he's regressing career-wise, but like Sam sort of alluded to, yeah, it is. It should be good for his SO5 scores, which is unfortunately all we care about, if we're being honest.
I'm not going to criticize that, mate. I just suggested Wesley the Hoot.
Yeah,
like, we don't have to be a good player.
Yeah. I know. We both hit lows today.
The names that started going through my mind when you were like, there just seemed to be a lot of young center mids in MLS just cleaning up, as one of our favorites between us, who actually I've never owned. Like Frankie Amaya popped right into my head. And then obviously you mentioned Pamukal, Pablo
Cáceres,
Ruiz,
the same thing.
Back when he played. Who was that one, Sam?
Yeah.
Christian Cáceres. If it's a league just with a bunch of Christian Cáceres, in like you're not going to hold on to the ball for very long, are you? It's going to take it off you.
Yeah.
Right. The one I'll also throw in is Chris Durkin, who I actually do own. That's actually Chris Durkin is the worst, like the single worst purchase I've ever made on Sorare. Like I bought his rare, I think it was for like 0.25, which at the time was like hundreds of dollars right at the Gary V boom. And in fact, I'm not even going to pull it up, but I'm pretty sure I'm the highest dot ever on a Chris rare card. But anyway, Sands returning is like, if we had known that he was coming back before the season started, because the news like came out like, oh, Sands might come back, and all of a sudden he was like in the lineup, and you were like, oh, okay. New York City, I think like the opinions of New York City would have been a lot different. Like they lost so many players, like important players from last season. And obviously he was gone, but like he has been with the club. They know what they're getting out of him. Sands and Parks were always this duo that they thought they were going to have, not for a long time, because in MLS, you can't expect that like two young players, if they perform well, are going to stay together. But there was always this excitement about the two of them. And then Parks got hurt, and Sands transferred, and they just like never played that much together. And so it is like very interesting to see the two of them, especially with Santi Rodriguez in front of them, because it gives them someone to get the ball to, who then moves the ball up. And so I agree with you that those three are going to be super important for this club. Like they'll always play. Like there's no doubt about that. As long as they're fit, the three of them will always be there. And yeah, they play well together. And if you look at this upcoming schedule, I mean, my God, home against DC United, against Houston, who's one of the worst teams. New England is god awful. And who knows if Carlos Hill will even be back by then. home game against Atlanta. I mean, it's things are looking up for New York City FC, at least in the short term. And yeah, Sands is definitely a big part of that. Love it. Love it. You're going to struggle to get me to say a bad thing about New York City FC on this show, though, so.
That's why I picked him.
And as long as you keep picking him, yeah. Keaton Parks will be next week. And then Luis Barraza as we get a goalie in. But anyway. Sam, I had nothing good to say about your first pick. Do you maybe you can turn it around for the next one?
Pressure's on. Okay, my next pick is Kevin Schade from Brentford. Any immediate takeaways?
I've never heard of him.
Oh, really
fantastic. Good. Oh, cool. Harry chimes in with a good. That's good. He's under 23 until 2026. Fantastic stuff. And it's I think only a second foray into Premier League football for me so far.
I'm sorry for cutting you off, because I feel like the perfect intro to get me and Harry on board was he's under 23 and his L15 is 34. And both of us would be like, what do you got here? All right.
Yeah. Easy.
Anyway, apologies for interrupting.
I can read you like a book, Laird, and it's not a very good book. But yeah, Kevin Schade, fantastic. I had barely heard of him in January. Like, he's one of those names that's like on the periphery, but I'd never seen him. He hadn't played that much, to be fair, so it's kind of fair enough. But it also kind of feels rare sometimes for me to just have literally not really heard of a player. Like, it's quite refreshing and quite new, but usually I'm across it. So Kevin Schade really took me by surprise. He's also taking Premier League defenses by surprise, because I don't think they realise how fast he is. My goodness me, the guy can run. He is so quick. And that, I guess, is why Brentford have struck a deal which says that he's on loan right now at Brentford, but there is an obligation to purchase him for £22 million in the summer, and that's a club record deal. So there's a head of a financial commitment towards Kevin Schade, and therefore a lot of faith, and therefore a lot of security if you're looking for a player who is in the good books at a club and, you know, probably going to lock down a starting spot very soon. I don't think they'd have made this deal this early had they not been dealing with the Ivan Toney accusations and the allegations. And look, we don't know for sure, but reports suggest that, you know, he's pled guilty to like 200 charges. So we expect Ivan Toney to miss some time in 2023. And so I think Brentford are doing some future proofing and some forward planning. Kevin Schade played against Southampton last night, and he absolutely ran them ragged. And he's also the only player that I've ever seen sprint past Anthony Robinson.
Wow.
He did that last week or the week before as well in the rivalry game between Brentford and Fulham. He skinned him and then popped an assist on the plate for someone. And actually, you know what? Wednesday night against Southampton, he ran pretty much the length of the pitch with the ball, beat two players, hit the byline, and cut it back for Brian and Burmo to take a bad touch and fire well over. It was very disappointing. He very much ruined everything. But Kevin Schade's part in the game was fantastic. I think that was his first start for Brentford. He's been sort of coming in off the bench a little bit, getting to grips with it all. But he has now basically booked his first start. So this is it. This is the start of Kevin Schade and his breaking into this Brentford team after taking a bit of January and a bit of February to sort of get to grips with it all. This is a player they're very committed to financially, a very, very talented one, very, very fast, like ridiculously quick, and someone that can take them to the next level, they hope. So this is probably the time, isn't it, for Kevin Schade, if you're looking for his breakout, and I'd say things are looking up for him as a result.
Is the expectation that we don't know anything about Toney until like after the season?
I really don't know. It's been strange, hasn't it? How
it's like really strange.
Like it's taking a long time, and I like remember that these allegations were made clear before the World Cup.
Right.
It was actually suspected at the time that's what kept him out of the England team. But it's Thursday afternoon as we record. England have announced their squad, and Ivan Toney is in it. Yeah. So it can't be that. We don't know. We genuinely have no idea. But like, how long does this take? But we have a precedent in that everyone else that has been found guilty of betting offences has been banned for a time. I know a couple of Fulham fans very well because they present a podcast with me, and they're convinced that the FA are waiting to see if Brentford are either going to get into Europe or they're just going to do it and ban him over the summer and fudge it, which is classic Fulham fans. I don't. But the truth is, those conspiracy theories are allowed to spiral because we just don't know what's going on. Like, we have no timeline, we have no idea. But Brentford are making the right moves in the background to make sure that this doesn't hurt them as much as it could. And Kevin Schade part of that plan.
I mean, he started with Tony this week, didn't he? So, like,
yeah.
I mean, not that they get better without Tony or whatnot, but like it seems like he could have this role regardless of whether Tony is suspended or not.
Yeah, so I mean, because he's lightning fast, you probably see him as a wide forward.
Yeah.
And you'd be looking at, in the same way that you wouldn't put Karim Adeyemi as the central striker, you'd play him off Allaire to the left. You'd ideally do this with Schade as well, and they're using Tony as the target man. And a lot of their play is built around Ivan Toney, like a lot of it. So I think Schade is going to step in as the number 9, really. They'd have to change the dynamic of their attack. But I think they're more tied to him than they are, say, Johan Wissa. And a front three of Mbeumo and Schade and Tony seems like the plan.
Yeah,
sounds pretty good to me. And if you just remind me, but take a look at the scores. He's got an L15 that may take some time to iron out, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All those sub appearances are gorgeous.
Yeah, big time. I mean, again, you've probably got 6-7 goes at him as like a freakishly low L15 before he catches up to probably where he scores.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, I don't know if you were trying to slightly make me feel better, but the fact that I had never heard of him and you were like, I really didn't know this guy until a few months ago. I was like, oh, great.
No, it doesn't happen very often, but I like it. I appreciate it when it does. When I first saw the deal, when I saw it was on loan, I genuinely assumed they'd loaned a player in for their B team for the rest of the season. Because clubs do that. And they're like, we'll take a look at him, put him in the B team, train him, whatever. And I was like, as a loan with an obligation of 22 million, I was like, it's probably not a B team player then.
Yeah.
Unless they're trying to create the world's greatest B team, which they're not.
Yeah, I mean, the price seems pretty solid right now. It's about, I mean, literally as low as you can get, at least on his own chart. And so even for cap 240 seems pretty good.
Yeah, agreed.
Pay that off in a week, 2 weeks, 2 game weeks. Yeah, I like it. Oh yeah, and until 2026. I wasn't expecting that long. I kind of forget what years we're in sometimes. Yeah, that's fun. That's fun. Harry, do you have somebody even younger?
Same age, exactly. Yeah. Actually,
to the day.
To the day. Well, I can't remember Shade's birthday, but
that would be something.
That would be something. We've got 21-year-old Aidan Morris, who currently plays for Columbus Crew in the Major League Soccer.
Aidan.
It's a weird spelling of Aidan, isn't it?
Yeah. Another young MLS central midfielder. Yeah,
I mean, this one actually excites me a little bit more. One, because I'd argue, well, especially as limited is half the price in terms of 2-week or floor price, of Sands, which I thought was pretty odd. Just over half. Obviously, he's taken a bit of an increase after the weekend's performance of a 50 AA score and an assist, which basically got him 110 points technically if it was allowed, but it's not. Maxed out at 100 in a 1-1 draw against Toronto. Again, like the tackles thing again. I think he made 5 tackles in this game. Obviously got his triple. But, on SofaScore, it'll tell you like the attempted tackles, if that makes sense. And it was 10. I've never seen 10 before. Like Florentino Luis will get I've seen him get 8s and some big numbers. But it was 10, which was just frightening, really. 13 duels won, obviously, there, 4 interceptions. And, if you can add decisives, into there like he's done on the weekend. I know it's a small sample size. It's as small as it gets, obviously a couple of games into the season. But anybody that scores 100, it's dangerous, isn't it? Like, for an £8 limited and 93 pound 3-day average on the rare, it's pretty exciting to me when you're comparing him to the upper echelons of under 23 summer midfielders in your Puigs and Almadas and Santi Rodriguez's and so on and so forth. So, for this sort of price, I think you can take the risk on it not coming through as nicely as it might, if that makes sense, because you're not buying an Almada at like a like a mature price, if that makes sense. He's sort of on the come up in that sense. I've watched him play, and he's exciting. He's pretty quick. He's a box to box centre midfielder. He's going to play a bit more forward and get involved in the attacking play a bit more than like your Sands would. But he still seems to have that sort of that crazy sort of interception, tackles one, duels one ability, and that added on to the DA ability, which hopefully we can see a bit more of. Like he played last season. He played a lot of 90-minute games, and there wasn't too many or any DAs as far as I can see on Sorare data. So there's risk there. I'm not saying all these DAs are just going to flow in like I did with Lois Apenda. But it's exciting for me at this sort of price. Like it's sort of, it makes me take note, and hopefully there's some more sort of 80 to 100 games in his locker before the end of the season. Obviously we've just started the season, so like you've got 33 games left or whatever it is. And yeah, even like his AA scoring in games that he didn't get a DA in, like last game, 23 AA. If he's hitting 20 to 30 AA without a DA, like it doesn't kill lineups. It very much keeps them alive, and that's all you can really ask. It's all you can ask for really from a player like this, I think. And I'm excited to see where it sort of goes. It does seem like he enjoys a yellow card, so be careful on your, because it's nothing worse than watching a game of football and your player gets a yellow card, foul, and dual loss. It's like I don't know. It's just the worst sort of combo. It's the killer. It's horrible. It's
like -5 or something, isn't it? In one.
It's just horrendous. But no, this excites me. At the price he's at right now, it might not be as exciting when he sort of doubles or maybe even triples in price, if he ever does, go on like a heater. But no, I think there's scope in the buy. And I'm pretty sure he was involved in one of the US squads. He's not in the most recent one that was announced today, but there was like a little squad announced not too long ago, and he played in a game for the US team. I can't remember. It wasn't like a a qualifier or anything, but there was some sort of like, I don't know, not training game, but friendly of some sort. And I'm pretty sure he was involved. Which shows that they're looking at him, and if he can sort of kick on a little bit more this season, maybe there's a legit sort of national team call up on the horizon for him.
So a friend of mine, an internet friend of mine, see it, save it on Sorare, is a Columbus Crew supporter and loves Aiden Morris. And so Morris played a lot last season because Artur was hurt. And so he got to get into that central midfield. Because Pedro Santos was there, when Lucas Zelarayan was hurt, Pedro Santos took set pieces.
Okay. When
both of them were out, meaning Zelarayan and Pedro Santos, Aiden Morris took them. Lucas Zelarayan is not an Iron Man when it comes to playing every game. And so if you're looking for the random decisive off of a set piece, if Zelarayan is out, it's going to be Aiden Morris, I think, taking it. And so I know at least Harry and I go a little wild for set pieces sometimes. And Morris will not take them if Zelarayan is on the pitch. But he is definitely on the list. I don't know if they'll let Cucho take some, but he has taken some before. He definitely took some last season. And so, as they say, it's in the locker. And so just something to consider also. As you can see, I was a very short-term owner of an Aiden Morris rare card here. Obviously sold too quickly. I don't even know why I sold it, let alone bought it. But it was there. But yeah, I think he's the crew love him. The supporters love him. He's going to play. And like you said, if you can get 50 AA without set pieces, that's pretty wild.
It is.
And
it really is.
It's actually his birthday is within a week of.
No way. That's weird.
November 15th. Oh, 11 days.
Wow. Awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
We did find a theme in the end.
There it was. There it was. We thought it was gray hoodies, and it turns out it was November 2001 birthdays. Anyway. So yeah, as you guys have noticed that we added this these 4 guys to our watch list. If you are interested in following this watch list, you can just looking up with Laird on Sorare Data's watch list page. You could also just sort by most followed, and it's right at the top. I will never stop reminding everybody about that. And you can find the link to you can find the link in the description of this video. Speaking of the video, if you could please like it, that's always really helpful. And check out all the other stuff on Sorare TV. I know Major League Sorare is doing, I thought they were doing once a week, and it feels like they do a new video every single day. Tripping B's just blasting stuff out. They've been really good guests recently, including Gator Guy and Patchagol. Patchagol is an old friend of mine as well from the DFS days. He is super sharp and has a particular affinity for North and South American football. So if you're ever looking for some like hidden gems, just go check out his gallery, to be honest. But yeah, please subscribe to the channel. I continue to notice that these videos are getting more views than subscribers, which always seems weird to me because I feel like it should be the other way around. But either way, subscribe to the channel and enjoy everything that Sorare TV has to offer. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.